I recently got done a conversation with someone, and during that conversation, she was sharing with me a bit about where she's taken her business going forward. And as she was talking to me about where she was taking her business, she was describing some of the conventional levels of what comes next. It's like, I'm thinking I can bring this into my organization and become a coach there. And she went on and continued to share more about a bit of what her goals were when it came to that. And it was really funny because right as she was wrapping up all of that, she put in this one last sentence. And the sentence was something along the lines of, and then once that's all done, like, I'm going to go off and like start creating something that's going to have me on stages and talking to people and bringing out like this thing that I have to get out in the world. And all of a sudden I felt it within my body. I felt my entire body just like shift and get energized, because in that moment she was energized. And what ended up coming forth from this year was a realization that the things that she had wanted, she had felt was actually something that would require a whole lot of work, something that would be years down the line that she needed to prepare for in a number of different ways. And in that conversation, from the moment that we got into what actually mattered for her, we were able to leave that conversation breaking down those beliefs and the mindsets of that it had to take a long time. We left there with 4 or 5 different ways to go and explore and bring that idea to life now in a number of different ways. And we were talking about it later on. I actually recently had a conversation with her as a follow-up. She said, you helped break down the overwhelm for me. You helped take this idea that was this huge, lofty thing that had really overcomplicated and brought it into something that I could take a tiny step on today and start seeing that come to life. We'll start this conversation here with a question for you. Where's something in your world where you potentially overcomplicated or brought in more than is necessary? And what might it be like if you're able to just bring it down several levels to what is the smallest action that you can do today? Today, I'm going to get a chance to speak here with Gina. And Gina is someone who has actually been a really instrumental part along my journey here. Gina was there in the parts of my emerging as someone who's willing to speak what is honest and true to me, to speak the things that have been uncomfortable for decades for me to really be able to sit in conversation with. And she does it in a way that not only kept space with me, but also allowed me to continue to grow. So there's so much more that I can share here, but Dina, I just want to kind of bring you on and just really spend some time focused on you. So I'm going to unmute you now here. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to be able to serve you today in today's conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Gina, we're going to spend time really focusing on you and going through your inner journeys and seeing just basically how I can help you bring out more of who you are to create, I'd say, make your difference by leveraging your difference. All right. But before we get into all that, I think it'd be really interesting just to kind of go through a bit of your journey with you. I'm really curious about your outer journey, the things that people see on the outside, your highlight reels, the things that might be in your bio. And here goes something, and this is the first time I'm saying it here, but like, feel free to enter the brag zone and to dance in the brag zone. All right. Like, this is, I spend time with Outliers. I know that you do great things. So feel free to put that out there. Can you tell us a little bit about your highlight reel?
So the Outliers are like, oh, that's nothing. That was just a job.
Exactly. Yeah. So can we? Yeah. So why do you already know it? So follow that feeling.
So I'll tell you I'll start from now because it's more top of mind to me. Yeah. I am a regional sales manager for a privately held medical company. I'm responsible for more than $100 million in sales and revenue, and 6 people on my team in a very rapidly growing and changing business. And I've spent the last 25 years in healthcare sales. I sold disposable products to the operating room for most of that time. And interestingly enough, just 3 years ago, I changed from selling operating room products and being both a sales leader and an accomplished salesperson in that field to selling pharmacy outsourced services. So, lots of people say, wow, why would you want to change after all this time? One, I was bored with what I was doing. And two, just an opportunity was presented to me. And I already know the marketplace, kind of the environment of selling to my customers or hospitals. I know what that's all about. So I could learn a product. That's not the biggest challenge when you make a change like that. Prior to my sales career, I served 5 years in the U.S. Air Force. And I actually had a little bit of time. I was an HR person. But I always had these unique HR roles, project management or setting up quality teams, back when companies were beginning to set up teams that work together and teamwork rather than individual work. All kind of things like that. So that's kind of been my journey. I've won some awards along the way. Actually, in my current job last year, I was the region manager of the year. I think somebody's going to beat me out of that this year, but that was my deal last year.
I want to really acknowledge you for all of that there, Gina. Like, yeah, this is, I love hearing more about your journey and love seeing you where you play. There's a ringing sound that keeps coming up. Do you hear that?
Oh,
if so,
yes. Maybe that's from my computer.
Okay. For me, and as you're turning that off, like for me, I know that there's sounds that happen all around. Typically, if I don't hear it, I won't mention it. But I love to just make sure it just happened right now, just so you know.
Okay, it should be gone. I think somebody was texting me over my computer and pings like that.
Awesome.
So can I tell you a story?
Please.
Since you know me a little bit, I was at lunch with my mom and my brother over Thanksgiving. And my mom was kind of, your parents don't really know what you do because often our jobs are nothing like the kind of work they had. My mom was a school teacher. So she's like, what do you do anyway? And my brother's got a corporate background. Mm-hmm. So, I started trying to explain to her what I do. And my brother was like, well, how much are you responsible for? And I was like, like $100 million in sales. And he was like, what? Like, but to me, that's like, it's just my job.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. One of the things that really comes through there, but finish the story though.
But I mean, that was the thing. He was like, what? Kind of like, I never knew. Cause I don't really talk about I don't talk about stuff like that. My family, what do they care?
Yeah. And even with that, it's something that, it's like in my mind, I think like, who is the person that Gina is to actually be able to make those kinds of sales, right? Like the person that comes behind it. Go ahead.
And to be correct, my team does that. I don't do that all on my own.
Okay. Yep. There was something that you said earlier that was running through my mind. You said, the biggest challenge, like you're staying you've been in healthcare. The biggest challenge is to learn a new product. I'm curious what the biggest challenge actually would have been then.
The biggest challenge is learning a new culture, a different culture. Not so much, well, possibly both within the new company I went to, as well as I deal with people in pharmacy now versus people in the operating room. So different cultures, different needs, in both cases you're dealing with really highly educated people. Pharmacists are pretty scientific about things, probably in a different way than people in the operating room are. But those would be the biggest challenges, is just like, okay, what's the culture here? How do things work, and how do I get things to work? And for me, the company I work for is people don't leave. So I had a unique opportunity to join this company. So I'm truly an outlier, because other people that share the same position or positions like this across the company have been there, 15, 20, 25 years or something. And I'm a complete outlier from all of the history, all of the people that when you've been in an organization that long. So you have to earn people's respect and earn some credibility relatively fast.
Yeah, I'm like I find myself curious about that, but I also feel like you know how to play that game as well, like to be able to make that come to life. So let me ask you. Yeah, go ahead, Gina.
Sure, go ahead. No, go ahead.
When I do. That, yeah, I like that. It's like the answer is yes. I do not.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And I have the sense that that other outliers out there also get that, where it's like, because when you're saying this, my mind goes into the rooms that I have joined where I've been the outlier and originally like an outsider, honestly, and then to find out, okay, how is the game played here? And then be able to then say, okay, now that I know your rules, I know how to score points and so on and so forth there.
And there are still times when I feel like an outsider because, and I realized that I was kind of struggling with it a couple of weeks ago. And I realized I'll never have the history these people have that have been here 20 years and they've worked together for 20 years. I have a relationship starting with them now forward. Yeah. And that's how it's going to be. I can't capture a time period that I just wasn't there.
Yeah. I find myself getting really curious about one thing here. And I think it's a question that always comes to my mind. So how have you been able to find ways to leverage the fact that you don't have that history to actually improve the things that you do or improve the organization?
So as you might know, I'm outspoken. Mm-hmm. And I am often the person in the room because I don't have this history that's really long-term. So some people that are really long-term, I mean, the downside of that is they're like, this is the way the business is. It's always been like this. And I'm the person that's often going, well, why do we have to do it that way? Or why is it that way? Or are we looking into how this might work in the future? Has anybody seen how our competitors are doing this? I'm often the one throwing that question out there because I don't have a mindset that this is the way this business runs and always has. And it's actually a really rapidly changing business. So a lot of that, is passed in a fairly quickly order.
Yeah. I'm like, I know that there's something in here that actually can feel that brings something new to light that they didn't have access to because of the fact that they had such a long history there. So it doesn't surprise me that you bring that out to life, but I think a lot of times we miss the thing that makes us feel as though we may not belong is actually the thing that actually helps us to create the most amount of value, or at least not the most, but its own set of value as well.
It's right.
Yeah. So
I mean, the risk of that is some people don't like it.
Yeah.
They don't like the system to be questioned or what's established to be questioned. And some people are curious about, hey, you've had other experience, what's your other experience? What could that contribute to the way we're thinking about this or looking at this?
There's something in there that I wasn't sure I was going to bring up, but why not? Because it's in my head right now. It feels relevant. You were saying that the business has changed even just in a very short period of time, right? And I feel like we're in a place of accelerated change within business and beyond. The whole and every single aspect. I was writing an article about this, actually a post, and I paused it for a little bit, but I really looked up and said, in every single aspect of life, it feels like this is really coming up. They talked about VUCA environments, which stood for VUCA. Yeah, it's okay. I heard it was a consultant word that I heard in 2010 that has stayed with me, but it's it's in an environment with volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And I can't think of a space right now that isn't full of all of that right now, or an industry that doesn't have that going on for them.
Yeah, every space, including I think personal life. I feel like time-wise, Thanksgiving happened, And now it's January 3 weeks later.
Yes.
I just feel like that time has passed more quickly than ever.
Absolutely.
And we're already in the middle of January.
So let's look at this year, because we're going to be in the middle of April, and then July, and then so on and so forth, and it'll be a new year before we know it, back to January. I love to spend some time, slow down into this present moment with you.
Sure.
Right? And I get some of what you've done and how you've been able to navigate things to get to this point. I know that you're also up to some really big things in the world right now, right? And so no, it's like we can confirm that here. So what I'd love to do is can you take 10 seconds, not even 6 seconds, to think about one of the bigger projects you have going on, one of the things that either feels really impossible or out of reach, or just something that right now looks like is an area that you love to bring to life, that currently feels like it would call more than what you have. And then let's bring that into today's conversation. I'd love to be in what I call it possibility creation mode rather than problem solving.
Sure.
So what would make this conversation, what would enable, and what should we talk about in this conversation that will help enable the possibility that you see?
What the thing that's sitting before me is to create a group program, a group coaching program, versus trying to coach people individually while I still have a corporate job. It's the capacity to do that is extremely limited. And there's some efficiency to coaching people in a group setting that would allow me to still reach people, work with people, but not so much on an individual basis. But I have to create it, because what's it gonna be? Who's gonna be the people? How am I gonna reach them? What's the outline of it going to be? Because I have to deliver something, some value and service to them. So that would be a stretch thing for me in this next year.
Awesome. So let's start with that. What part about, you said let me ask you. So if we talk through this here, would you find that to be a benefit for you? Let me just check in with you.
Sure.
Yeah. And this, sure is a hard word for me because of the nature of my work here. I tend to put things out there. So yes or no is great.
Yes.
Either one is fine. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Great. You said that what's in front of you is this here. What's the challenge that you're experiencing with it?
I haven't even started working on it yet.
Cool.
So that's the number one challenge. I've had one conversation with another peer that was in Kairos with me, just fluffing around some ideas, and that's the only thing I've done so far.
Okay. So what about this conversation here would really serve you? Let me make sure that we're talking about something that will actually, if this is not the time for you to be putting this in, or if you're if we need to be in brainstorming mode, we can do it just to kind of help you get some space on it. Totally happy to do that. But I want to make sure that just because I tossed out the original question, we're still in a place of actual service versus just oh, this would be really fun, but it wouldn't actually make any impact right now.
Yeah. I mean, again, I have nothing. I have nothing but an idea that this is a path I want to take. And, you and I both work with Rich, and it seems like magic the way he does it. Bringing people into a conversation and into that coaching exchange. Where I am in this process as a coach, I'm feeling like I have to have something a little bit more concrete to offer people so that they even sign up. I'm finding people are not, at least not now yet, they don't get subtle ideas so much as they want more concrete ideas. What's this going to be about? Blah, blah, blah. So just working on how do I create that.
question for you. What about Rich, and we're talking about Rich Lipton here. What about what he does feels like magic to you? What's the magic that you see?
So my experience with him, other than at intensives and some coaching one-on-one, has been in Kairos, which is a group of 20 people, and you said this experience is going to help connect you to some people, help you learn to be to elevate your business, grow to other points you want to grow. When we start a coaching session, it actually usually starts with a story. And then from that story, he says, who wants to be coached? So that seems like magic to me.
The element of starting with a story and then asking who wants to be coached.
Yeah.
It feels like a story. That feels like a magic to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more. Because there's some things that are going on through my mind, Gina, but I want to make sure that I'm not jumping the gun on what it is that you're actually trying to create.
Again, rather than coaching people individually, coaching a group of people at once.
Awesome. So there's
coaching them on change. The same, however we state it, the thing that we're all trying to do is help people make change and create the lives they want.
So there's a couple different elements here. And I really want to get into problem solving mode, and I'm going to push it off just a little bit longer. What is the magic that you don't feel like you can bring to the table with this right now?
I don't feel I have the magic enough of a reputation, of a track record in this endeavor to have people go, yeah, I think I just want to be coached by Gina, so I'm going to sign up to whatever she's going to advertise for the next 6 months.
Okay, cool. So then what if you were able to build that reputation and credibility?
That would be awesome.
Okay.
But I see that taking time. So I've been able to coach probably fewer than 10 people in the last couple of years. One, because I do have some just time limitations to build, to do the things, to connect, invite, all the things that we want to do to help people decide and us decide if it's right to have a coaching partnership. So
this, like you had said earlier, and this word it didn't escape me. You talked about capacity. You talked about like having the capacity for this year. And I was really curious about that word capacity for you. Could you just really let me know, like when you think about it, I'm now highlighting it here, but when I say capacity and you having the capacity for the group program and things like that, what comes to mind? What feels like we need to, what does capacity mean to you in this environment?
So capacity means that part of it means time. Part of it means being able to be just like emotionally available and present to serve people. Whatever sort of business related task I will do to attract and gain clients. So capacity is all of that. As an example, I sat down tonight and before our call, just not associated with the call, but just some work I'm doing, kind of like, what are the top 5 things I need to do this week? And my tendency has been to list 20 things. And I got to number 5. And I in my mind, I want to try to do more than that. But I just really ask myself, do you honestly have the capacity to do these other things you want to do? And the answer was no. And that pains me. But it's like, do these 5 things well. And then next week, let's look at the next 5 things that are there. So things may go more slowly than I want them to. I might not connect with as many people as I ideally want to, or whatever. But what's my real capacity, other than making the list of 20 that's just not going to be possible to complete. So part of it is, it's having the time. And it's very difficult, I found, to try to serve 4 clients while I have my corporate job. It doesn't seem like a lot of clients, but I travel a lot. So, I may or may not be here, or, there's a lot of stuff that comes into it.
Yeah. So first, it feels like before we get into the what's of the groups and all that stuff there, I feel like this capacity part needs to be really respected first and foremost. Because so let me ask you here, what do you feel that you have that you have the capacity for? Because in my mind, the same way that not having the history, the 20-year history, and everyone else has capacity for so much other stuff. Sometimes I think, man, I wish I was doing coaching on the side, because I would have such limited time that I would automatically know what it is that needs to get done, versus, man, I have all this time today, maybe I'll go out this year, I'll let some thoughts come to mind, so on and so forth. So if we were going to treat this limitation as one of your superpowers, one of the things that right now is really creating a diamond for it all here. Tell me more about what you do have capacity for, and let's start from there.
I'm not sure what you're asking me.
Okay, that sounds good.
I mean,
let me ask it again.
If you want to get granular, so I looked at what I need to do this week.
It's less about what's on your list, right? And more about for what you're trying to build right now. What do you feel like you have the capacity for? Because that's really, I just want you're talking about building a group program, and I'm hearing some of how other people are doing it there. And what I want to start off first is just respecting you and your capacity first. It might end up that we're talking specifically about the group program or not, but this is not a place where you're I can't take on 5 more clients. I'm full, right? With the 4 that I have right now on a one-on-one basis. So now, so I want to make sure that before we get into problem solving on that, we actually know what are your constraints, and the constraints that will still allow you to be able to do all the other fun things that you love to do in life as well, and be successful in the role that you're taking on with your job.
Yeah. So I'm at capacity at 4 clients. I mean, and that's really a lot. Again, in addition to a corporate job, in addition to fitness stuff I do, and just trying to have a life. So I would like to serve more people, and I'd like to create a way to serve more people. And so part of this, the whole, I was thinking about a group, and this was part of our discussion on a Kairos call as well, about here's a way you could serve more people, and increase your capacity that way by offering a group program. So it just seems like a sensible approach to me.
And then just check in with you on this here, because I love groups, right? So I just wanted to just check in with you just as we have a little bit of time. Is it that you're looking to serve more people? Is it that for the income that's coming in from 4 clients, you feel like you can get more income or more revenue that's coming in because you have a group and you're able to better leverage that time? Is it that I'm curious right now, especially given some of what you have going on, that of what you're looking to gain from this right now? That
it would be both of those things. I mean, yeah.
Okay. And just
some, I don't know. It's just delving into the unknowns and creativity in whatever creative process helps in building a program like that.
Yeah. So the thing that comes to mind that's making me smile right now is I'm going back to the magic of Rich Lippin. All right. And I just want to break that down a little bit here because I needed to check and see. Like I was like, Gina, do you have the capacity to even take on a group program? Is this even something that like we could have a conversation, but would you have the capacity for it? Right? It's like you're thinking about like because constraints is wonderful. I have a friend who has a PhD in creativity, and she said to me, creativity thrives with constraints. It thrives because you're like all I have is 1 hour once a month, like to talk on a Zoom call. You will find out when the hour happens. I'll have it scheduled at least 4 weeks in advance, but you're not going to get it any earlier than that, or I'm going to take the second Tuesday and this is the 1 hour that I'm leaving aside for you here, so on and so forth. And then given the fact that you're going to meet 12 times a year, that in and of itself would like shape, okay, what can we actually, what would we want to get accomplished? What would feel good in this kind of construct, so on and so forth, right? So this is some of the reasons why I'm asking you this here, because it's like, it's so open right now that it's like, but at the same, it feels like it's really open, but in reality, you have some real,
I have some real constraints.
You have some real constraints, which is a great thing. Which is a really, really great thing. So I want to make sure we're not losing the power. We're not missing out on the power of having those constraints, because all of a sudden it takes this thing that could be anything and says, actually, for what I'm doing, this is what fits in there. And then you can look at it and say, do I want to do that? Do I want to double my rates on my one-on-one clients? Do I want to do something completely different? But like I'd be curious for you from that standpoint, like what are, like, when it comes to the program, just from like the physical constraints of it all, what do you feel like you actually have the capacity for right now?
I have the capacity for something I can schedule. Like you're talking about different models. For me, it wouldn't be, I'm going to call you and tell you when it's going to happen. It would be more of here's the time I see consistently or mostly consistently being available. And here's when I'd like this group to assemble.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So, all right. So in the grand scheme of things, that would be possible there. Would you need to create any more capacity in your world right now to be able to even have the group program that you're looking for?
No.
Okay. All right. Cool. So then, with that there, I did want to make sure we spent some time on the capacity, because that's the part, like, I think a lot of times we can come in here and you can find a lot of people who will brainstorm and say, put in this feature, talk about this benefit, so on and so forth. But they might have missed the fact that, like, actually right now, do you even have the time to think about what all those things would be? Do you have the time to do like the pre-work, the post-work, and so on and so forth? Which is why I was asking you about what is the magic of Rich to you? Like, part of what I love about his magic is like he comes up with some story, right? Because I've experienced it as well. He comes up with a story. And like, that's all the prep he needed to do for the entire conversation. And that was it, but that to me is part of the magic, So I want to tap in, like, and to tell you the truth, I am modeling that myself. So I start off here with a little bit of an introduction. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to say before I say it. In the future, I'll probably have more that, like, I'll probably start figuring out more about like how I want to enter it in and to be all that. But I'm like, today I want to practice with a story, because I just finished talking to someone and she said, give more examples. So I'm like, let me practice leading with a story today and setting that as a context and go in. And then afterwards it was like, so what should we talk about?
And so here's my fear. What if people just sit there and stare at you and go, well, she's supposed to have something we're supposed to talk about.
Aha. Do you feel that for me right now in this conversation right now here?
No. But I know you.
Okay.
We're, peers. So I understand some of what you do. It's not like the person who hasn't had coaching before that comes into something like this.
All right. So Gina, there's a part here that let's put this out there, right? Because the coaching journey is that person's journey. If they're getting a coach, they're there to create something that is important for them, right? And that I think it's something that's like, what I'm hearing here is it feels like there's pressure on you to be able to figure out, like, what is it that I'm exactly going to give them? What are the specific results? What are the specific this? How are we going to do all this stuff? I heard I asked you how about Rich, because the answer in it is the answer for like at least your first group program. When you're getting on the hundreds and all that stuff, there are different things that are necessary to reach the masses.
Oh,
for your first group program, I'm hearing it. You're like, I was at an event in which he had put together where I got a chance to experience him. And then if I remember how that was enrolled, then he invited people into like an evening. So you got to see him doing the coaching and stuff all throughout, right?
Yeah.
You had met with him a few times beforehand and so forth, right? Then he invited you into an evening with other people to come in and see that. And you got to see again, like the ease in which he created his magic. And you got another chance to experience that. And then he gave you an invitation to come and join him on it. And you said, yes, I'm simplifying it. But like, there's something in that process there that it feels to me that like, there's that ease that, like, what is it? Like, let me not put the words there, but what is it in the process that feels like the magic to you? I want to figure out what feels like magic to you, so we can intentionally bring that into what you're created.
Well, I think I was talking very specifically the magic. I mean, there's big magic in the whole thing with being part of Rich's community, but I was talking specifically about our calls with Kairos, which is like 20 people. And it's a story. Let me tell you a story. Who'd like to be coached?
So so why can't we just create that magic then, Gina? In its simplest form, right? In its simplest form, what we're doing right now is it's me and you one-on-one. But I'm starting with the same exact formula, and it's harder to implement than it might seem. But at the same time, it's like,
no doubt,
yeah. Yes. But at the same time, it's also not rocket science. It's you're starting with a story, but what ends up coming is how do you tell the story? How do you become a great storyteller? That's part of
exactly.
But that's also a learned skill and a very learnable skill. Right.
Yes.
So from that part there, there's an element. There's a reason why we're doing one-on-one conversations right now. In 6 months' time, there will only be group conversations for this year.
Okay.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Because and those groups, right? It won't be 6 people. It'll probably be 3 people each time. But it's like the muscle is being formed along these ways, such that by the time that someone meets me at a later part in the journey, like, this is just what I've done. It's not, I don't even have to think about it. It's so flowy, So right now it feels from this conversation that like coming together with like, what's the big construct of the group program and all that stuff. It feels like it's a couple steps removed from where you actually are right now. I would be really curious for you, what would it be like? And just going back to the idea of like going from 20 things to 5 things, right? Mm-hmm. What would it be like for you to have one night where you have 3 to 5 people to experience Gina in a group setting?
That's a brilliant idea. Never even thought of it. I like it. Had not even thought of that.
Let's take out the complications of it. Let's just get to like the core of it for you and let it build itself as it needs to, but give you the chance to do it. And all you need to do, maybe for now, like all you need to do is come in, figure out what story you want to tell. And we both know Rich, so like some of them are his stories. Some of them are stories that have happened in the past. And some of them he's literally reading someone else's story. But it serves.
Yeah.
And you can simply let people know, hey, we're going to have this night here. Bring your biggest challenges, bring your biggest fears, bring the biggest changes that you want to have. Tell them what to bring. But like you as their coach and as their leader in this regard here, lead them to bring what they need to. It's not your responsibility. And then you get a chance to practice that. He knows without a shadow of a doubt that he can say a story and then ask the question, who wants to get coached? And know that 20 people of like 20 high performing leaders and individuals and coaches and so on and so forth are going to get value from spending time in that conversation. He knows it in his bones. There's no like, I need to get all this ready to, he knows it. His job is to start us off. And even that, he's unattached to, like, do you use the story or not, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good insight. I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, like, if you even look at the flow of today's conversation, I started off talking about my story. I went into the story myself. The person I brought up was like, I'm creating a whole lot of, like, the thing in my mind seems really, really big. And it just so happened that for today, that context actually made, like, apply to what was going on here. Take it from this huge group program. It's like, what if we just did the one? You know, I wasn't attached to it. There's a number of times that I've had stories come up that we don't use those concepts at all. You know?
Yeah.
How do you feel right now inside your body?
I feel good. I feel like I feel good. Yeah.
Is there anything else that we need? Like, we might be there. We might be there in terms of like making this happen. I think the idea of using your limitation and using the capacity you have as almost like a way to just flip this up and make it into something really interesting feels like it might be a really nice lever for you.
Yeah, I think so. And I've been thinking of the limitation as a restriction rather than a gift. So.
Yeah. And that's going to make it that's going to make it really, really tempting to the people that you choose to be there. You only get 5 people. You only have an hour and a half on this one day. You know, I only do this once a month. Like, it's really important. Or I don't even know the next time I'm going to be able to do it because my calendar is so up and down. So, like, when you commit, it's an actual commitment. You know, there's elements of this here that can actually bring something out of the person before you even get into the room.
Okay.
And then we got to see your magic.
Wow.
Yeah. Have fun with it. It might be doing these.
You know, yeah. So I did 3 goals for this year, 3 very kind of big goals. And one is to get in the best shape I can, because I got very unfit last year. 2 is to put aside a year's worth of living expenses. And 3 is to just have fun making clients and not let this be so, I put so much pressure on myself because everything I know is from this whole work life mindset of the corporate life I live. And, you know, it's pressure. Yeah. So I'm just saying, I'm just going to try to have fun. Yeah. Not take it too seriously. Not to be irresponsible, but to not just not let it weigh on me. Like, you have to do this.
Oh yeah, Gina. Like, my thing is, I don't think you're not taking it seriously enough. Like, there's a level, like I take things so seriously that I make it light. I say the things that I talk about are the heaviest topics. I take things so
seriously, I make it a grind.
Yeah. So there's a level beyond the grind. There's a level beyond, and most people talk about the grind and they talk about like this, like, but there's a level beyond that. You know, it's like I know, like, I talk about the heaviest stuff, and it can feel light at the same time. I'm like, we have to, because otherwise we're just going to be stuck. We need to approach it with lightness. This is the part that sounds really fun. Like, Gina, you know this life. You know what it's like to be, like, you know, a really successful executive that really feels like real constraints on time in terms of the limitations that come along with it, as well as what it feels like to like have some really big goals for yourself that are really around your own personal well-being as well. And you know that, you know, like the pressures that come along with the job and the pressures to try and figure out things on the side. And you could, like, in my mind right now, I'm like, what would it be like? How easy might it be for you? Or how light, maybe not ease isn't the right word, but how light might it be for you? Or how much fun might it be for you to find 5 other people and say, hey, I'm creating this experience. Like, things have been really tight for me. You know, things are normally really heavy. And I want to, like, create an experience that takes 4 or 5 people who are also feeling this level of, like, pressure in so many other areas, and just have a half day, 2 hours, whatever it is, for us to just come in and have some fun. There'll be, there'll be some fitness in there because one of my goals is around fitness. There'll be some other things in there, and then we'll spend at least an hour and a half coaching, or we'll spend an hour coaching. And the way that's going to go is that it's going to be just as light. We're going to come in, we're going to do a quick debrief on whatever has happened, and I'm going to ask the question, who would love some coaching? And we're going to leave there. That. It's going to be light, easy, but life-changing.
I like that. And I'm speaking at an event Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I want to have an offering to leave there. Mm-hmm. And I just I don't have time to work on something that's all complicated.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I can feel it, like the energy, I was like, none of that, no. Yeah, I mean, you're fun. You have
and my talk, which is, I came up with myself as this talk called "Your Health is Your Wealth," mm-hmm. and it's really about the things that we just talked about. People exhausted. Here's how you can take care of yourself. Here's how this relates to your success and well-being, the success and well-being of your family. If you don't take care of this, things might not go as well.
Yeah, Gina, as you're saying this here, I feel like an invitation to a one-off thing where they don't have to make any commitments. They don't have to see how it fits in their whole grand scheme of life, all that. It's just they get a chance to go and experience it with you. And I get the sense, Gina, that part of where there would be your magic would be in the areas where you don't have to stop what you're doing to then turn on being a coach. It's mm-hmm. if there are things that you're doing to be fit or to meet that there, to carve out one time a month where you invite other people to come with you,
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Yeah. And the idea is, let's not add anything new to your plate at all. Let's keep what it is that you have going on.
Okay.
And right now, I feel like just finding these one-off activities without having to make anything into anything larger, and just seeing how can I just make this light and easy? If this was going to be easy for me, I love podcasts. It's easy for me to do podcasts. It's super simple for me to sit down, literally come in, and the story I have beforehand, I make it up on the spot, and I talk to whoever shows up, and we take that conversation on the spot. And I've done 4 of these today, and it's just I'm more energized than it's and it's before 11 o'clock a.m. This is simple for me. If I had to go and put together a speech or whatever, and it just gets, these things get hard, they get heavier. You don't have a lot of time. That's your gift. Hey, so when you have your time, you make sure you're using it well. And now the only question now is, who do you want to spend that time with?
Yeah.
And someone's going to see your magic and they're going to be completely inspired. They're like, you don't get it. We went on a bike ride and then we did this. And then we got then we sat down, we had lunch, and that conversation. And then over lunch, she just said, who would love to get coached? We got done, we finished eating, and then we sat down, we found we got these blankets. We sat down in the park, and she just asked the question, who would love to be coached right now? And we just had the deepest conversations, the most life-changing conversations. And it was just easy. This is your magic is different than Rich's magic. Your magic is different than mine.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I recognize that.
But it's the ease that I feel if you can just I don't even have to try.
I love these ideas.
Yeah. Without it having,
it's finding ease, and
yeah. And people this is the thing that's really, really cool about it. You're asking, what am I going to get out of it? They get to experience the ease. They get to experience a release from the pressure that they're feeling in other areas. They get to have, with the limited there's freedom in structure. I think that's kind of where you're look, it's easier for me to take the same time every on a regular basis than to come up with this time all the time. There's freedom in structure. So it's you're figuring out for them how they can get the ease. You are the person that's creating space for them in their life, because everyone else is trying to take up space. and you're doing it with the activities that they would love to do, but they haven't given themselves the chance or time to do it.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. I'm getting myself excited. I'm like, well, I could really like love to go do something like this here. Like, it's like, I'm like, because I would love to see you in your element. I think that's really it. And it's like about keeping you as close to that as possible, where you're having fun and you're doing, you're living your values. And the people that you can go on a ride with, or like go and do these activities with, are probably going to be the people who will also energize you if they do become a one-on-one client, or if you do meet with them on a regular that way. Maybe we start there.
I agree. Yeah.
Awesome.
It sounds awesome.
Awesome. So Gina, let's go ahead and we'll wrap up this conversation as it is right here. All right. I really acknowledge you here, and I think I can see like there's some things that are flowing. So if you want to brainstorm or whatever it is, let me know. But let an ease guide the way, and just bringing it all into alignment. You have your magic. I'm really excited. Just like let that just flow.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for showing up so fully here. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Niiamah. Blessings.
Bye.